Naples, Florida. A paradise of palm trees, pristine beaches, and peaceful suburban life. A place where people leave their doors unlocked at night, where neighbors wave as they water their lawns, where children ride their bikes without fear. But on one September morning in 2009, that illusion was shattered. Inside a home on 17th Street, something was terribly wrong. The windows were shut tight, the blinds drawn. The usual sounds of a lively household, children playing, laughter, the comforting noise of a TV in the background, were gone. Only silence remained. And behind that silence lurked a nightmare. Imagine this. You step inside. The air is thick, suffocating. A strange metallic scent lingers, sharp, unnatural. Your instincts tell you something is wrong. Something horrible. You move forward, one slow step at a time, your pulse quickening. Then you see it. A crime scene so gruesome, so nightmarish, that even the most seasoned detectives would later admit it was unlike anything they had ever seen. A mother. 5 children. The youngest just an infant. A family wiped out. Their lives stolen in the most violent, unthinkable way. Who could have done this? And more importantly, why? This wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. This was something far more sinister. A crime fueled by obsession, control, and rage. But before we dive into the horror that unfolded, we need to go back. Because in every crime like this, the story starts long before the first act of violence. It starts with a man. A man who wore a mask of normalcy, a man who was supposed to love and protect, but instead became the monster they never saw coming. Have you ever felt like someone around you was hiding something dark? How do you tell when someone is more dangerous than they seem? To truly understand what led to this tragedy, we have to go back to 2 very different beginnings. The life of Messac Damas and the woman he would one day destroy. Guerlain Damas. Messac Damas was born in Haiti in 1975. He grew up in a strict, religious household where he was taught about sin, punishment, and the consequences of disobedience. His father was a pastor, and from an early age, Messac learned how to present himself as a God-fearing man. But behind closed doors, he was different. While others saw a well-behaved child in church, those closest to him saw something else. A boy who struggled with control, a boy with a temper that could ignite in an instant. His punishments at home were harsh, reinforcing one lesson above all. Power belongs to the one who dominates. As he grew older, his personality became more manipulative. His charm was undeniable. People liked him, trusted him, respected him. But deep down there was something off. Something unsettling. He was controlling, demanding, obsessive. And when things didn't go his way, the mask slipped. Behind closed doors, Messac was different. Family members later described him as short-tempered, deeply disturbed, a man who lived 2 lives. People who knew Messac saw 2 different men, the charming one in public and the violent one behind closed doors. On the other side of this story was a woman full of life. A woman whose dreams should have led her somewhere beautiful. A woman who deserved so much more than the nightmare that awaited her. Guerlain Damas was also Haitian-born, but unlike Messac, she was known for her kindness, warmth, and devotion to her family. She grew up in a household filled with laughter, love, and hope. Her parents worked hard, instilling in her a sense of independence and strength. And when the time came, she set her sights on something bigger, a future beyond Haiti. She immigrated to the United States in search of a better life, eventually settling in Naples, Florida. She worked hard, determined to build a future not just for herself, but for the family she hoped to have one day. Gerline was ambitious. She was strong. She had dreams. And most of all, she had love to give. Friends described her as a fighter, a protector, and a woman who loved her children more than anything. A woman who had hope for the future, who believed in family, who believed in love. But sometimes, love isn't enough to keep the darkness away. And soon Gerline would realize she was living with a man far more dangerous than she ever imagined. Do you believe people can truly change, or do their true colors always come out in the end? When Messac and Gerline got married, it wasn't a fairy tale. Not even close. There were no grand celebrations, no moments of overwhelming joy. Instead, there were warnings, signs, clues that something wasn't right. But sometimes, when you love someone, you ignore the red flags. You tell yourself that things will change. That love is enough to fix what's broken. Gerline believed that. But Messac? He was never broken. He was exactly who he had always been. And now, she was trapped. Messac was possessive, paranoid, and aggressive. He controlled Gerline's every move, who she talked to, what she wore, even where she went. The world outside their home didn't belong to her anymore. It belonged to him. It started small, questions, criticisms, small moments of control. Why are you wearing that? Who were you talking to? Why did you take so long? But soon questions turned to demands. Demands turned to threats. And threats became violence. There were warning signs early on. Friends saw how he treated her. Neighbors heard arguments, the sound of things being thrown. There were moments of escape, when Gerline would leave the house in tears, finding comfort in friends and family. But the cycle was always the same. Messac would apologize. He would promise to change. He would remind her of their children, of their family. And for a while she believed him. Because that's what love does. It makes you believe that monsters can be tamed. But monsters don't change. They only grow bolder. And this time, there was no going back. In 2005, Messac's violent outbursts became more frequent. Neighbors heard screams behind closed doors. Friends noticed bruises that Gerline tried to hide. One time he grabbed her so hard that she had to cover the bruises with makeup for days. Another time she didn't even bother, because she knew deep down that it wouldn't stop. That this was her life now. But there was one night when the world saw Messac for who he really was. January 2009. A gas station in Naples, Florida. Surveillance footage captures a couple, Gerline and Messac. It looks like an ordinary evening, until it doesn't. Messac reaches out. He grabs her by the hair. He yanks her toward him hard. People around them stop. A clerk watches in frozen shock. But in that moment, no one moves. No one intervenes. Gerline doesn't scream. She doesn't fight back. Because she knows, if she makes a scene now, it will be worse later. So she lowers her head, and lets him pull her away. But this time, someone did something. A call was made. Police arrived. And Messac was arrested. For the first time. Gerline saw the possibility of freedom. For the first time, she considered a future without him. And this time, she had made up her mind. She was leaving. But for Mesak, that was something he would never allow. Because for men like him, control is everything. And if he couldn't have her, no one would. Why do you think some abusers can't let go? Is it about love or control? September 17, 2009. It started as just another night, but it would end in pure horror. Inside the Damas household, Gerline was preparing for what she thought would be a normal evening. The children were winding down, their voices filling the air, innocent, unaware. The house smelled of home-cooked food, a warm, familiar scent. But something wasn't right. Something was coming. And then he arrived. Mesak Damas walked through that front door, but the man who stepped inside wasn't the same man Gerline had once fallen in love with. No. This man was a storm ready to destroy everything in his path. He had spent the entire day stewing in his own rage, his thoughts spiraling out of control. Gerline had been talking about leaving. And Mesak? Mesak wasn't going to let that happen. He wasn't going to let her take his children. He wasn't going to let her walk away. Because in his mind, they weren't hers to take. What happened next was not a moment of blind rage. It was cold, calculated, merciless. One by one, he hunted them down. Gerline, Mitchsak, Marvin, Maven, Megan, and baby Morgan, the youngest just 11 months old. The details of what happened inside that house are almost too horrific to speak of. But make no mistake, it wasn't quick. It wasn't painless. It was personal. Mesak didn't just want them gone. He wanted them to suffer. And he made sure that they did. Some say the true measure of evil is not in the act of killing, but in how it is done. And what Mesak Damas did. It was a massacre. Authorities would later find defensive wounds on Gerline's body. She fought for her life. She fought for her children. But Mesak had already decided there would be no survivors. What must those final moments have been like? The sheer terror. The helplessness. A mother watching, knowing she couldn't save them. The children, confused, crying out for their father, the same father who was about to steal everything from them. The last thing they saw was the man who was supposed to protect them. And when it was over, when the house fell into a deafening silence, Mesak didn't weep. He didn't collapse in guilt. He didn't even hesitate. He simply walked away. No remorse. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Because Mesak Damas had a plan. And his plan? It was just beginning. How do you even begin to process something like this? What goes through the mind of a person capable of this level of evil? The morning after the crime, Mesak wasn't filled with panic or regret. He wasn't consumed by guilt. He wasn't afraid. He was methodical, focused. He had a plan. Most people in his position would be paralyzed by fear. They'd second-guess their every move, perhaps confess or run into hiding racked with remorse. But Mesak Damas? He wasn't like most people. He didn't stay in the house, trapped by his own conscience. He didn't agonize over what he had done. Instead, he walked out of that front door like any other day. Mesak wasn't panicking. He wasn't trying to flee for his life. He was executing a well-laid plan, one he had probably been working on for a long time. The first step was clear: get out of the country. Quickly. Disappear. He packed a single bag. No hesitation. No second thoughts. He made the necessary arrangements, purchased a one-way ticket to Haiti. To the outside world it looked like any other departure. A man simply catching a flight to his home country. No one would have suspected that this was more than a routine travel plan. But Messac didn't know what awaited him in Naples. What he didn't realize was that he had left behind too many traces, too many clues. He thought he had outsmarted the system. He thought he had escaped, that he had outpaced any trace of his crime. As Messac flew towards what he believed was freedom, he began to let go of his past, Naples fading into the distance. He thought he had done it. He had escaped. But even as the plane cut through the sky, the clock was ticking on his escape, and the clues he had left behind were quickly being pieced together by investigators. He thought he was untouchable. He thought he had outrun justice. But what Messac didn't know was that he couldn't hide from the truth forever. The authorities were already on his trail, and the manhunt was just beginning. He thought he had disappeared. He thought he had escaped the consequences. But Messac Damas had no idea what was waiting for him once the plane touched down. His escape was brief. Because as soon as he stepped off that plane, he would learn the hard way that justice has a way of catching up with those who think they've outrun it. Do you believe that someone like Messac, who meticulously plans their escape, can truly outrun justice? Or do you think fate always catches up to them? The morning of September 19, 2009. In a quiet Naples neighborhood, the sun rises like any other day. People walk their dogs. Neighbors sip their morning coffee. But inside one house lies a horror no one has yet discovered. The Damas home is eerily still. No movement. No sounds of children playing. Just a house, locked, silent, waiting. Then Gerline's family arrives. They knock. No answer. They call her phone. Straight to voicemail. The feeling in their gut turns to panic. Something is wrong. One of them steps closer, pressing their ear against the door. That's when it hits them, the smell. Thick, pungent, rotting. They don't wait. They call the police. Minutes later, officers arrive. They knock. They announce themselves. Nothing. They try the door, locked. One officer moves to a window. He cups his hands against the glass, peering inside. Then he turns back to his partner. His face has changed. Something is very, very wrong. A decision is made. The door is forced open. Officers step inside and walk straight into a nightmare. The house is too quiet. The air inside is thick, suffocating. Something is wrong. Then they see it. Bodies. Blood. The aftermath of something unspeakable. An entire family gone. The responding officers freeze. Some turn away, unable to process what they're seeing. Others grip their radios, their voices shaking as they call it in. But nothing could prepare them for the full extent of what they are about to witness. Because it's not just murder. It's a massacre. They move from room to room, piecing together the unimaginable. Gerline, found in the master bedroom, her body lifeless, her struggle evident in the marks on her skin. The children, each in different places as if they had tried to run, tried to hide. The youngest, baby Morgan, just 11 months old. Asterisk, one by one, their names are called in over the radio. One by one, officers begin to break. Asterisk. Naples has never seen anything like this. And as word spreads, something else becomes clear. Messac Damas is missing. The moment the crime scene is secured, the hunt for him begins. They run his name through databases. They check local hospitals, shelters. Then they check airports. It doesn't take long. A single flight record. A one-way ticket. Destination, Haiti? Authorities act fast. They contact Haitian law enforcement. Within hours, a manhunt is underway, stretching across Port-au-Prince, searching for a man who thought he had left his crimes behind. But Mesak Damas? He isn't hard to find. September 21, 2009, 48 hours after the discovery of the crime scene, Haitian authorities track him down. He is cornered, caught, arrested. When officers lay hands on him, he doesn't resist. He doesn't try to run. He doesn't even seem surprised. And when they ask him why he did it, why he slaughtered his own wife and children, his answer is as chilling as the crime itself. The devil made me do it. But the devil didn't book his flight. The devil didn't pack his bags. The devil didn't try to escape justice. Mesak Damas knew exactly what he was doing. And now, he was about to face the consequences. Do you believe criminals like Mesak Damas truly feel remorse? Or do they only regret getting caught? September 2009. Mesak Damas, once a free man, now sits behind bars. Shackled. Isolated. Awaiting his fate. The charming man, the controlling husband, the ruthless killer, now just another inmate. Just another murderer waiting for justice to catch up with him. But justice, as it turns out, would take its time. 4 years his case dragged through the courts. Appeals. Delays. Legal battles over whether he was mentally fit to stand trial. He refused legal counsel. He told the judge he wanted to be executed. He even tried to speak directly to the jury, a desperate, unhinged attempt to control the narrative one last time. But no one was listening anymore. Because the evidence was clear. The confession was clear. The horror was clear. In 2017, 8 years after the murders, Mesak Damas finally faced the inevitable. Musical note, music shifts, intense, final, decisive. The courtroom is silent. The air is heavy. The judge looks him in the eye and delivers the verdict. Death. Mesak Damas is sentenced to die. His reaction? Nothing. No emotion. No outburst. No remorse. Just silence. Maybe in that moment he finally realized this was the end. There were no more excuses. No more manipulation. No more control. For the first time, Mesak Damas was powerless. The community in Naples? Some found closure. Others found no comfort at all. After all, what justice is there when 6 innocent lives are gone? The death penalty? Some believed it was justice. Others thought it was too easy, a way out that was far too quick, far too painless. Because Mesak Damas would never know the suffering he inflicted. He would never experience the terror his wife and children felt in their final moments. He would never truly pay for what he had done. But the question remains, was death the right sentence? Or should he have been forced to live out his days in a cold, dark cell, forgotten, invisible, erased? Is there such a thing as true justice for a crime like this? What do you think? Should he have been sentenced to death? Or is life in prison a worse punishment? If you found this case shocking, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More stories like this are coming soon. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.